You're listening to Mark Willis's live special, Hammering Down the Lanes of Change, a Road Dog Trucking News original. Join the conversation now at 888-8-ROAD-DOG. Here's Mark Willis.
Drivers' coronavirus and the nation's response to the emergency are rapidly changing the day-to-day realities of fleet-based businesses in the United States. While several states are relaxing the stay-at-home rules, transportation, field service, utility workers, and energy workers, and many other fleet-based businesses have been deemed essential services and are continuing to operate, albeit in a vastly altered landscape. Craig Harper is with me now, the Chief Operations Officer for J.B. Hunt. And Craig, I want to welcome you to the program. First two guests on the program I had earlier, I've been asking them their thoughts about the COVID-19 situation overall. You know, we started out this year on such a high note. The economy was doing well. There was a lot of freight. People were employed. And then, like the lightning bolt out of the blue, the COVID-19 situation hit, and it really caught a lot of people off guard. Talk about that, and welcome back to the show, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. I appreciate you having me again. Yeah, you know, when we all do our planning and our budgets and predict things for the next year, we start working on that in July and August and try to finalize it in October. None of us, obviously, had put in COVID-19. So it did take all of us for a surprise and obviously hit the industry real hard, hit all industries. You know, it's freight was going strong, and then, you know, when it first hit, we saw certain essential items surge in volumes, and then obviously others had to either close down or slow their operation, and it did a lot of damage, obviously, having the country having to shut down like it did for so long now. We were fortunate enough at J.B. Hunt with the broad base of customers that we have. We were able to move drivers from accounts that were slowing down to accounts where business was surging. So fortunately for us, we didn't have to go through laying off any drivers, that type of work. We were able to put them to work and keep them working. So but it's been a real challenge just navigating through this with the customers and, you know, the workforce. We went to work from home at one point, and, you know, we can talk more about that in a moment. But, yeah, it's been a real challenge for the entire world, literally.
Let's talk about that a little bit more. Of course, safety is job one at J.B. Hunt, and the company's been focused on its employees and their safety and those who they interact with in meeting the customer commitments in light of what is going on with the COVID-19 pandemic. Did you see maybe some of the operation move to like home-based computer technology, maybe safety aspects as well coming into consideration? Yeah. Talk about that move.
Yeah, you touched on this. You know, first and foremost, when this hit, what you're most concerned about is keeping your employees safe. And so we worked hard to get the PPE out there as quick as we could, you know, the gloves, the mask, the hand sanitizer, you know, because as we all know on this show, the entire U.S. was counting on the drivers to continue to perform the work. We've all said it many times they couldn't work from home. And, and your last caller or last guest was talking about the respect that they've gained. And, you know, that's what's been one of the positive things about this. But starting off, first and foremost, concerned about the drivers and how are they going to continue to do their job, do it safely. We had many conversations about that. And, you know, it's talked about that fortunately for the driver, they do have a lot of time in isolation in their cab. But then what do they need to do when they go into the shipper and receiver, and what do they need to do when they go into the truck stop and the whole social distancing? So we did our best to communicate regularly to the drivers. Many of us would do videos. We would send out messages on the onboard computer device. We'd send emails to home. So that was the main concern right out of the bat, is keeping the driver safe as they're performing the work. But the other workers that we went to the method that if you could perform your work from home, then stay at home and perform your work there so that you don't come into a building and, you know, spread the virus on an entire floor.
Craig Harper, J.B. Hunt with me, drivers. And Craig, again, thank you for doing this. As far as what you might see going forward with operational procedures in trucking? Do you maybe expect we're going to see driver, shipper, customer interactions lessening the amount of contact between all individuals? Are we going to be going more towards an electronic system where
Yes, I do.
those are going to be the transactions? What do you think?
Yeah, I do think we'll go more and more electronic. I mean, we're working on that now. We have an electronic bill of lading where our drivers can actually communicate with the shippers and receivers and have a no-touch situation where they can share the documents electronically. But we got to get everybody to participate in that. So it takes a while to get going, and we really need it from the original bill of lading and get that all digitized into the system. So I do think there's going to be more and more communication through the phone technology, through the onboard computer device, and less and less interaction with the people. Just like most of us, right now, if you go and whether you're ordering at Whataburger or Chick-fil-A or McDonald's, whatever, everybody's got their app now. So I see more and more of that, yes.
How is driver training going to be changing in your estimation? The traditional way, of course, is the trainer and the trainee, or maybe two people in the cab with the trainer. Do you envision, Craig, maybe that we're going to see more road testing of new drivers and starting out maybe having a pace truck follow behind that's going to be able to monitor those driving conditions for those that are being trained? How do you envision that?
Well, first off, I would say as much as you can, you'll do from the driver's home. I think a lot of companies have done to that when you first hire a driver, as far as having them do as much work as they can at home or online, and get all the paperwork process that they can while they're still at home. And then when you get with the trainer, then we're just going to have to do all the things that we know to do with obviously the social distance. It's hard to do inside the cab. Okay, but whether we're doing temperature check, whether we're doing questionnaires about the driver and where they've been, and getting comfortable with the drivers with one another, that they're okay to be in the same cab together. And then also, as we get all this antibody test going on and testing, and what we're seeing, we've had a spike here in Arkansas, and the results are showing that 78% of the people are asymptomatic. So hopefully more people have had this than what we at first believed, and that they've had the antibody, and that we'll see, that we can be able to continue to feel comfortable working together with the mask, that as we wear those when we're around each other, and again, taking all the precautions we can.
Do you envision also that we're going to see, Craig, maybe a shift to more off-site or remote audits by the FMCSA? Traditionally, there would be somebody coming on board to the property and doing all of that, but do you think we're going to be switching to more off-site or remote audits due to the COVID pandemic?
Yeah. Yes, I think you'll see that in all businesses. I think, Mark, one thing that this has taught us all is that people, I can't tell you how many times in our buildings where one group says they need to sit next to the other group to perform their job better. Well, now that these groups have been home away from everybody, they've seen that they can do their job and do it well, remotely. And that's just not in trucking. That's in a lot of industries. You're going to see some people not return back to the office, that they can do their work from home. And I think that's going to be the case with regulators, whether it's, in trucking or finance or anything else. I think you'll see more and more of that than remote.
Let me ask you this as well, Craig, as far as the importance of communication between, say, J.B. Hunt and the customer base that you had. You mentioned that there is an extremely diverse base, so many different customers that are out there. And the customers, the companies are going to be looking to J.B. Hunt, for example, for communication about what's going on as far as operations, safety procedures, and things like that. This is really a collaborative partnership between the trucking industry, the trucking company, and the customer base. How important is that line of communication?
It is, Mark. It's very important. But what we have seen is that you can actually, and there's good and bad about this, and I'll talk about it, but we've seen that you can communicate with more people when you're working remotely than you can when you're spending the time getting on the airplane, taking the transportation to the office building, getting in there, and getting all set up. And whereas when you have these remote calls, this is what I'm talking about, the good and bad, man, when this thing hit, my work day, it's like, when did it start and when did it stop? It just all blended together. And,
Yes.
even, going across the weekends, people have more time to talk to you. So, the communication in many ways has gotten a lot better because you can talk to so many more people a day when you go from one. We use Microsoft Teams, but whether you use Teams or Zoom or one of the other, web services, but you can get on the call and you can have that call for 30 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour and 10, then you can hop right on another one. It's none of this wasted time going around the traveling. So, yes, the customers want to be communicated with. They want to know what's going on, what are you doing for safety, what are you doing to take care of their business, how's your driver, are you having no-shows with drivers? And, gosh, I want to take this opportunity. Thank you to all the drivers.
Yes.
You did deliver. You kept the hope going. People forget what this looked like early on. I mean, there's a point when people didn't know if the stores were going to have any food, any groceries, or the medical supplies be at the hospitals, and the drivers got them there, and they got them delivered, and the drivers gave America hope. And that meant
Craig, I got to leave it at that, but thank you, sir. Absolutely, the drivers indeed have given the U.S. hope. Craig Harper with J.B. Hunts. Stay tuned. Hammering down the lane of change continues next on SiriusXM.